Joshua, welcome. Welcome to Humanity Inspires.
Thank you for having me again.
Do you know what this is about? Do you know anything about this show?
Me and Bob talked a little bit about it. He said you're gonna ask some questions and we're just gonna talk about life and all kinds of things. So
yeah, kind of Joe Rogan on steroids. That's what I'm trying to make.
Okay.
So it's up to both of us to participate. And I'm glad you mentioned Bob. I was just having a text chat with him this morning on the other side of the world, and he said you guys are doing some cool stuff together. So excited to hear about that if you want to share.
Yeah, definitely. We're doing a 50-state road trip in January, and I will go to all 50 states, and we're going to be sponsored on by some companies because I'm going to try to combat drunk driving in the United States, and I'm going to do it for a good charity. And along the way, I'm going to try to break 10 Guinness World Records at the same time.
Wow, cool. So what are the 10 records you're going to try and break?
Well, I'm going to go to 50 different libraries, so a different library in each country.
Yeah.
Or each state. And then I'm also going to play 50 rounds of regular golf.
Right.
One in each state.
Yeah.
I'm going to play 50 rounds of disc golf, one in each state.
Right.
And then there's some other ones I put in for, and they'll probably get approved just because no one's really done it yet. But I was going to try to break the 50 state record on the quickest time ever. But the guys who did it, there was 4 guys, and they did it in 8 days.
Wow.
That's nearly impossible by yourself. There's no way I could drive 50 states in 8 days. It's impossible.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Have you got any sponsors or anything on board to help you out with this?
Yeah, we have 2 in Florida right now, and they're local sponsors. But, if I get 10 local sponsors and they all add up at the end, and once it gets out, I think especially in January when the United States opens back up to travel, people are going to be domestic traveling a lot. So there's going to be – I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people opening up. And I just did a big email sponsorship to Kia because I'll be driving a Kia the whole time.
Right.
So I would be surprised if they didn't sponsor me as well, because why wouldn't they? I mean, they should. It's going to bring them great information back to them.
Well, here's a shout out to everybody listening today to see whether you can help our friend Joshua out here with his amazing Guinness Book of World Records attempts across the United States. And let's have a shout out to Kia, because last night I was, I don't want to say I was involved, but there was a online activity happening with Rafael Nadal, the tennis player, with Kia, and Kia are a major sponsor of him globally. So if you're listening, Kia, get onto it. Help Joshua out. That's cool, mate. That's very, very cool. So what inspires you to do this stuff?
It's just after 10 years being in the Army and, them kind of controlling everything I did for 10 years. And let me just go ahead and say I don't regret any of it. I loved every minute of the military life. Some people don't, feel that way all the time. But for me, I loved it. I volunteered to go to war the first time, and I didn't have any problems with that. But it was once I was asked to be retired because of my injuries. I don't hold back anything, but it was kind of time for me to start, writing my own stories rather than listening to orders kind of thing.
Yeah, right. Look, I was really inspired after talking to you on our previous show, on the travel show, and part of my reflection around that was not even being able to relate to what it was like being in the Army and going off and doing a tour of duty. Well, you did 3 tours, right?
2.
2, okay.
Yeah.
So, for us people sitting out here in judgment land, it's very difficult to kind of associate the impact that had on your life, that journey. How can you sum it up in, a few paragraphs on what impact that all had on your life?
I mean, honestly, it was just kind of when you first go, I mean, I was still so young and hungry, to be that guy who volunteered to save his country and everything. But it was like, it was more than that, because when you go, you just learn a sense of responsibility. And I was thrown into a position of leadership, and before I knew it, I'm sitting over in Afghanistan and I have 5 other people underneath me, where basically their lives are in my hands. There's there's no simple way to say it. Their lives are in my hands. So it was kind of like you go from a 22-year-old boy to 22-and-a-half-year-old man really, really, really fast.
Yeah, I bet. I guess you had no sense of responsibility to that level before in your life.
No, not to that level. Like, I've always kind of been a loner. Like, I moved out of my house when I was 16. I was on my own at 17. I had my own apartment by 18. Like, I've always kind of been, I was the oldest child of 4. I've always kind of been a loner, and I didn't have a great relationship with my parents when I was younger and stuff like that. I was kind of a rebel,
right?
Which is half the reason I joined the military.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like a thing of, it's just totally different when you have lives in your hand.
Yeah,
it's a totally different thing.
I can imagine. So has it been a difficult process in being able to re-assimilate back in society when you came home? You know, when you got back into the, excuse me for saying it, but normal life. How was it in terms of getting back to reality?
No, it was not. It's just it's just different, It's just, mine was very, very weird too. Like how it was when I got home from the second tour is when I was home for, a few hours, and then I got run over by the car and put in the coma. Oh. And when that happened, it was kind of like, welcome back to America. Goodbye. I can always sit back and laugh at it now because just the stories and stuff like that. But I kind of, when you get back, you don't realize how much responsibility life is, because when you're in the military, they just do so much for you. So much is coordinated of your everyday life. You don't realize like how many decisions you don't actually make.
Yeah, right.
Until you have to make them yourself.
Yeah, right. So for someone who doesn't understand war, because I've always been an anti-war person, I was just saying to a friend of mine the other day, I've never actually had a real fight with another human being. Like, I've never had a fist fight with a guy before or anything like that in my life. So I find the whole violence thing and trying to kill someone and all that unbelievable out of my scope. So what's your thought now that you've been there and done it about war and the whole, why we go to war kind of thing?
Well, I think you first have to really you have to separate the thought process. So the first thing you equated to war was killing somebody and stuff like that. That is not the way it is in the United States. Joining the U.S. Army or the military component in the U.S. or in the U.S. military is something of honor. You're joining to support your country. You're joining because you love your country and you're happy to to help them. There was none of my, at least when I can only speak for the soldiers that I've been, in contact with and stuff like that. But none of us joined to go to war at all, like that I know of. I never joined the military going, you know what? Can't wait to go to war. It wasn't like that. It was just something that once you're in, and then they ask for people to volunteer to go to war, or they just say, hey, you're going, you go. And once you're in the military, you can't just be like, nah, I'm good. I think I'm just gonna sit this one out. I think I'm good. So it's kind of like, I'm not a very I would say that I'm not a very violent person, or even into violence at all either. Yeah. But I've always kind of had a thing with strategy. I don't know if that's kind of weird, but it's like, like board games and stuff like that. I've always really liked strategy and stuff like that. And that's probably the reason that after, I did the combat thing, I really went into the military intelligence side, because I've always kind of just really had a thing for strategy, so to speak.
Yeah, right. That's really cool. So you actually, and I guess this is the same for everybody that goes into it, they come out with a different kind of belief system, but also skill sets that you develop, right, and evolve as you go along.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, so every job, every MOS has different skill sets.
Yeah, I bet. So what do you think of the current posturing that's going on between the United States and China and all its allies at the moment, and all the stuff that's going on in the South Pacific, sea over these disputed islands? What do you make of all of this stuff?
Oh, yeah. I wish I could just run away right now from this question. It's so hard. It's so hard to really even have an opinion on it, because I have both sides. I'm British and American, and I joined the U.S. Army, so I love America. But then I also travel the world for a living, and I love Asia. It's my favorite continent of all 7. It's by far my favorite, and it's just like, why do we have to keep fighting so much, and then it's like every time, honestly, I don't even put it on Trump anymore. I put it on, the Chinese leader, and it's all the same. It's like if Trump does one thing, from what I recall, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Trump said he was going to close down a Chinese embassy type thing in Texas, and then the very next day, China closed down a U.S. embassy somewhere else. It's like, guys, are we having a show and tell who's got the biggest? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I don't want to turn this into a political show. That's not the point of it.
Yeah, exactly.
but I guess it's relevant, and all the stuff's going on in the world at the moment, and people got their own opinions. Look, my thought on this is simple: is that if you strip away the politics, and I'm glad you talked about traveling, because I've travelled a bit in my life and seen a lot of the world, and more importantly, the people of the world. If you take away the political aspect of this and how the politicians are using it to throw their dicks around, for a better sake of word. The people, you go to China tomorrow, I go to China tomorrow, fantastic people. They all want the same thing in life as we do: freedom, happiness, contentment, love, look after their families, everything else. Everybody does around the world, right? There's no race that wants anything other than that. So it begs the question, doesn't it, that we're always talking about these things that politics are pushing as their agenda in life and what they want through their power-hungry minds and all the rest of it. But the rest of us, the normal people down here on the ground, we just want to be happy and have peace, don't we?
Oh, 100%. That's honestly one of the things I love about traveling so much, is when I travel, I don't read the news. Like, you wouldn't believe. It's like when I'm gone for 6 and 7 months and then I come back, I don't look at any news while I'm gone, because I like to just concentrate on whatever I'm doing at that moment.
Yeah.
And then when you get back, I'm just like, what happened?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And it's like, holy moly.
Yeah.
Every major event in the last 3 years, you can say that I was not probably around until I heard about it a month later. And I'm just like, I was just there. How did that happen?
Yeah, exactly right.
But, sure.
I wanted to talk to you about social media today, because that's to blame for a lot of things that we've been talking about already, right? In terms of the way that information gets disseminated around the world. And
absolutely.
And I wanted to I watched a great video last night about a writer in the UK. She was a journalist, and she called the article Unsociable Media, right? Unsociable Media. And she's decided to get off all social media and to live her life away from it. And she's been doing that for half a year now, I think it was. And the reason she got off, because she actually had a relationship breakup, and she said, right, I don't want to see that he's gone on and he's having a happy life without me and all this sort of stuff, right? So she used that as her way of breaking off social media. But she came on afterwards 6 months later and said, listen, my life's never been better. I'm connecting with people now like I never have before. And her age was important. She's around late 20s, early 30s, right? So she's of the younger mindset when it comes to social media. So I wanted to have a chat to you about it. How old are you, Joshua?
Huh?
How old are you?
33.
33, okay, so you're in that group too, so that's good. So I'm 55, so we probably have a whole different perception on social media, particularly when it comes to, getting our messages out there in business and all the rest of it. What's your take on it today as a 33-year-old?
I actually don't have a problem with social media at all. I actually enjoy social media. Obviously, I make a living on it. However, the biggest thing with me is social media isn't going anywhere. It's not. There's no getting one. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just going to delete my accounts or delete this. I can boycott. That's fine. Go boycott all you want. You're not going to change anything. Social media is not going anywhere. So for me, I just learned to adapt to that social media. So, for example, on like YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that, when I post pictures, I would get comments back.
Yep.
And one of the things I do is I don't look at my comments.
Right.
I just don't look at them. I post awesome stuff that I think is awesome, and I hope that people love it. And if someone, I used to let comments get to me. If someone was just like, oh, that probably isn't a good sanctuary, you shouldn't post pictures like that. And the bottom line was just kind of like, I shouldn't be allowing these people to affect me. I'm crushing it. I love life. I love everything about my life right now. So, I just kind of learned to adapt in that way and kind of just, went to it a little differently. But I think social media can be very, very valuable in some ways, and it just has to be used right. And the problem is, man, some of our news outlets. And the problem is we lump up news outlets with social media because of how much we've allowed news outlets to become social media, like Twitter especially is probably the worst.
Yep.
And it's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Some people just can't handle it. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Some people can't handle it. And, it's a good thing that girl, she, from what you said, she sounds like she went the right way. But in all reality, she also allowed social media to win because she quit something that she couldn't handle because she was worried about, what her man was doing on social media. I don't allow people to have that type of effect on me in the beginning. But that could just be different personality traits.
Yeah, I think so. And I like the way that you said that you've developed a strategy that works for you, and I think that's important, right? Because then you control it and it doesn't control you, which it sounds like
100%.
You've got in that. Do you find that not reading the comments or acknowledging the comments is stopping you from potentially opening some doors of opportunity by not having that kind of interaction?
No, not really, because it's not that I don't. It's like I don't mean like I don't read them. I mean it like I don't respond to. That's a better way. I don't respond to them.
Yeah.
So it's like if someone says, "Hey Josh, you look awesome. I'm so happy you're doing this with this elephant." I immediately go, "Hey, that's awesome. I really appreciate you." But then if it's a bad comment, I've literally learned to just back away and kind of go the opposite way with it.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's
cool.
And you have to. I actually learned that one from the old Joe Rogan.
That
was always a good one.
Yeah.
Because he says he never actually
he doesn't reads
his comments.
Yeah.
Smart.
Do you believe him though?
I want to, because I actually have learned a lot from him, like learning from him. But it would just be so hard to never read a single comment, because some of his comments right now, especially with some of his guests on the Black Lives Matter. Woo! I bet you those comments are interesting. For sure.
Look, I love the guy. I've learnt a lot from him, and not just about podcasting, but about life and stuff. And I think that if you really listen to some of his interviews now, and he will actually bring in there that I read this on my Twitter feed or something. So I think he does read. I think he does read them, and I think he he's also probably like you. He's got a filter that he's able to use, because let's face it, first of all, he must be bombarded with comments, right? As we all know that he is, right? And there must be a lot of dark stuff in there as well. But the guy, and this is what I admire about Joe, is that he stays his ground on everything, right? He knows who he is, where he's going, what he's doing, and he's not going to let anyone rock that boat. So, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess I'm just talking about it from the point of view that a lot of people in the world don't have that, I guess, discipline with social media, and they let it overrun their lives. Like, I'm amazed with how many people spend so many hours a day on social media, right? Like, I've got a lot of people that have been on my shows, and I watch their activity and I think, wow, they're putting a lot of time into this. And yeah, they've got a lot of followers and stuff, but I've come up from the old school of business. If you're going to do something, focus on that and go after it, right? And put all your energy into it. So absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And I have to give some credit. My father's also a military guy, so he kind of instilled that in me, and so did the military. I have the discipline to, if I make a point of something, then that's me. Yeah.
And it's also kind of like with social media stuff. I have timers on my phone, so I will only spend a certain amount of hours each day on social media working on stuff. Period. It doesn't matter what I'm doing or how I'm doing. If I don't finish in 4 hours, I'm off.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And absolutely. Are you pretty disciplined with that? Like, are you yeah?
Not only disciplined, at 100%, I do not cross the line. Last year, I guess it was probably sometime last year, maybe last January, I remember being in Indonesia, and for some reason, I was on the beach, and I'm sitting there, and I looked at the little iPhone thing that tells you your time on your phone.
Yeah. And
it was like 20 hours or something. It was something crazy. And I'm just sitting there going, what?
Wow.
Like, how have I been on my phone for 20 hours in like 24 hours? Like, how is that even possible? But then I start thinking, when I'm texting, looking at Instagram, looking at this, before you know it, you're on your phone for so many hours. It's ridiculous.
Right.
There's too much of life to see to be on your phone for 20 hours.
Did you have the same amount of discipline as you had today before you went into the military, or did they really enhance the amount of discipline that you've got in your life today?
No, I'm much more disciplined after the military, but I would say I'm even more disciplined after leaving the military and then trying to become a digital entrepreneur and having that first year that was really rough.
Yeah.
Falling on my butt and just, falling flat and realizing that if you don't continue hustling at all hours of the day, you're not going to go anywhere in the digital entrepreneur world. You're going to be left behind.
Yeah, I like that, because there's a lot of people that think there's a magic bullet out there, and particularly with this whole, advent of influencers and all these labels that we have on these people around the world. People think they can just put up some nice photos on their Instagram page and they're going to be an overnight success. But as you know, 100%. And as you're talking about, there's a lot of things. What are some of those early, I don't want to call them mistakes because they weren't, they were learning opportunities. What were some of those early learning opportunities that you take away from when you began your journey?
Well, the biggest one is collaboration. You can't do this on your own, period. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the sexiest, most beautiful woman on the planet. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have the greatest beard and the coolest hair as a man. It does not matter. You have to have collaboration. It's just the way it works. And if I would have started collaborating earlier, who knows where I'd be. But I just started collaborating hard in the last 6 months or so. But if I would have done it, 2 years ago, Joe Rogan, watch out, buddy. Who knows where I'd be at this moment.
What made you shift? What was the connection to get into more collaboration?
Probably a woman telling me to get off my high horse. I have to assume it was probably something like that. I feel like someone was like, dude, you're doing well, but you could be doing way better. Stop being a punk. And then eventually I was like, yeah, you're actually, I think I just sat there and one day just kind of clicked in my head that like, yeah, just reach out. You collaborate with people, you help people, they help you. Before you know it, you're huge. That's the way it works.
Yeah, interesting. I did a little video this morning about, I'm doing a video each day to share some of the things that I'm learning from my ongoing journey in life. And today I spoke about listening, because I've done 180 odd podcasts now, and I've had every single one of them have been amazing guests, and I just learned so much from becoming a better listener and dropping the ego off at the door and saying, okay, well, it's not about me talking, it's about actually listening to this person to see what I can actually get out of them in terms of value, and I don't talk about getting something out of someone from a financial or materialistic point of view. I'm talking about the value that I get out of this exchange, just like you and I are having now. And has that something, have you always been conscious of being a good listener and actually listening to what people tell you?
More once I started the whole digital entrepreneur career, because in the military I gained rank really fast. So, I was in charge of people, within the first 2 years of being in the military. It was just because being in the time of war, stuff like that, I got promoted really quick. So it wasn't really as listening as much. But then once I started doing the whole, diversity thing and cultures and experience them, you have to learn to listen, because if you learn to listen, you become a way better writer, is what I've noticed. Like my writing is extremely better and way more, I guess you would say, more articulate, I guess you would say. It's just way better the way I write, because when you listen to people, you just really, what people want to hear then, because you're hearing it from them.
Yeah. That's great. I said this morning in this video actually that when you truly listen to someone, you hear the things they're saying in between the words as well. And
absolutely.
And you're also feeling a bit of emotion and feeling and passion behind what they've got to talk to you about. So the words are not the only way that they're communicating to you. They're actually, the pitch of their voice, the tone, the aggression sometimes, the feeling that they're putting into their words. That's all part of the communication, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you're right. If you don't listen, then you're not going to like. It's funny you brought up that exact word. So on Amazon, what we were just talking about, I had some extra money on one of my gift cards.
Yeah.
I just bought a shirt that says best and then ever, and you could put any word in the between. And I put listener. So literally, I'm gonna have a shirt that says best listener ever, and it's just so funny that you just said that when I just ordered that shirt this morning.
Yeah, fantastic. There you go. There must have been something in the water I had this morning to be able to pick that one.
Good.
But I just think it is, and I've been in business a long time, and I go back and I reflect on, how I used to be. I'm not judging anyone else here. I was a terrible listener. Like, I used to be a commercial guy in a big multinational company, and all I wanted to do was run through the door, get the sale done, make the contract done, and get out again, right? And I had my pitch, I had my team with me, and away we go. And I would come out of many situations and go, I don't even know what they wanted from us. I didn't even listen properly to what they were asking, right? And I can put my hand on my heart and say that was the honest truth back then. But today, now what I actually do after I've done every podcast episode, I actually go for a walk or I go for some downtime and I reflect on the episode and I basically replay it in my entire mind to all the things that the person spoke to me about. And then I come back to my boat and I write down on a piece of paper all the topics that the person went through. So I judge myself on whether I think I listened enough, throughout the episode. That's a practice that I do today to try and become a better listener.
That sounds really cool. It sounds like an Amazon bestseller.
101 steps on how to become a better listener.
Exactly, with 100 podcast guests.
So have you written any books yet, Joshua?
Yeah, I've written 5.
Okay, good. What are they about?
The first one I wrote was 101 travel tips for the budget-friendly traveler.
Yep.
And it just kind of goes through a lot of the tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. The next one was a complete guide on booking your first travel experience to, coming back home, the entire process.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then I wrote 2 dating books on dating while you're traveling the world. Because when you're traveling the world for 3 years straight, you can't not date. Physical contact, emotional contact, you need it. That's just biology. There's nothing we can get away from that. So, when you're in these different countries, you have to learn how to adjust certain things and give in to certain things. And, I thought, there could be other travelers out there because the digital entrepreneur and the digital nomad world is growing by, the second, and the global pandemic is only making it more and more applicable for people to do.
I was going to say it's even more important now, isn't it, in terms of where we're at in the history of the world, with being able to
Absolutely.
be a better listener online and listen to what people are actually saying, and then to continue life as it should be. And we've got to have those interactions that you're just talking about. Do you think a lot of people have fallen in love during this time over the internet and because we're spending more time on Zoom and all those things?
Yeah, I think there is probably a lot more. I can't say a lot more because with those statistics would be so hard to find. But I do think that it's a double-edged sword, though. I think it is easier to find someone to fall in love with, but then I also think it's easier to find someone to replace that person that you fell in love with. Opportunities are everywhere these days, and I actually talk about this in one of the books.
Yeah.
That the biggest issue with the internet was probably the greatest thing to ever come in, our lifetime.
Yeah.
However, it's also kind of the wrecking ball to destroying relationships because there's just at any moment. If a guy and a girl, regardless of your looks for the most part, or your attitude or your personality, if you get in an argument, you can be on Tinder or Humble or Zumble or Wumble or whatever they're called, and then you're off with another guy or girl that fast.
So then one would say that it wasn't, whatever you had with that other person wasn't authentic or real in the first place, right? If you're able to jump ship that fast.
See, again, this is one of those hard topics because is it? Because I've written a lot of books. I've read a lot of books on I don't know if you've read the book called Sapiens.
No.
And and it talks a lot about how are people actually supposed to be monogamous, and then here comes religion and then this, and then there's just so many sides to everything. It's so hard to even talk about relationships because you can only talk about relationships in a certain, in a certain spectrum of what that person believes in and how they believe in it.
Yeah,
it's dating stuff. That's all I know.
So getting back to your book about dating around the world, what was the most interesting thing that you put in there to give people tips on dating around the world, do you reckon?
Leave stereotypes behind.
Yeah.
Just leave them behind. When you go into, say you're an American and you're going into France. Leave that stuff behind because French people don't hate Americans. Americans don't hate French people. It's not the way it works. It's just a stereotype. If you're a Chinese person going to Australia, there's no hostility there. Just don't go in like that. If you do, it's never going to work anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. So leave that behind. And what about the outcomes of Do you see people having these relationships while they're traveling around the world and end up getting married and stuff? Is that a real thing or what?
I think honestly, while you're traveling, I think it's more, they're more flings and short-term relationships, or they start traveling the world together. But I mean, I know personally, I met a young lady over in Australia, and then after I got done with an 8-month travel trip, we came back together and we went on another trip together, and we were together for a while after that, for another year. So it can happen, absolutely, if you have the right connection and the right vibes are there. But it also depends on that person. She's more of a homebody, so it worked out. But if it would have been, if it was another woman who was traveling full time, it'd be very difficult because we're having so many different adventures and experiences on an everyday basis. Yeah.
So where are you at in the whole relationship cycle process now as a 33-year-old?
I'm open. It's like it just really depends on who I meet and when I meet them. I think that relationships can happen at any time. I do also believe that the millennial generation is different than the generations in front of us, where then it was like, all right, we have to you have to be married and everything by 25, and then you kind of have to have the kids by 28. That's not the way it is anymore. It's much different now. And it's pretty good.
So do you find that with the focus that you have on developing your brand and all the rest of it, is that taking relationships taking a bit of a back seat because you're putting so much energy into that part of your life?
A little bit, yes, absolutely. I have some close girlfriends like that I hang out with, like women that I've met along my journey. And it kind of works out pretty well. Because we talk a lot sometimes every day. But it kind of just depends on what you're doing at that time. You have to kind of decide, is a relationship more important than your career focus or not?
Yeah, right. Is the one still around that told you to become a better listener? Is she still in your life?
She is. She's actually a nurse up in Washington, D.C. right now, working with the pandemic. That is just some of the craziest stuff ever right now. It's really horrific still up there.
Is she giving you some insights to what's happening and behind the scenes and all that sort of stuff?
She is. She says that she gives me insights every day when we talk, and she basically says the news is wrong. It is crazy. It's crazy as anything, and it's not necessarily getting better yet in a lot of these smaller areas, because I know a lot of people are always looking like, oh, is it getting better? It is getting better in certain areas. Not all areas. Some areas are still horrible. Clustered areas like that. And she says there are people that are, they're losing their lives every day.
Right. So whereabouts are you talking to us from today?
Down in Clearwater, Florida.
Oh, beautiful part of the world.
Very gorgeous.
I'd like to be there on a boat right now.
Oh, you would love it here, for sure.
It's a boatie's paradise around there, isn't it?
Yep.
Sure. So what's COVID doing to that part of the US? Are you pretty much clear of it, or what?
No, Florida's pretty bad, but where we're at in Clearwater, we're kind of across this the big bridge, and it sounds kind of weird, but it's almost like the bridge has made a small force field where like people don't want to come over to it. So in a way, our county's actually doing just fine, but it's also, you have to take the necessary steps. If you are, if you think that it's not real and you don't need to wear a mask, well, don't come complain to me if you get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Bottom line, I wear a mask everywhere I go. I don't want to. I hate wearing a mask. It sucks. But I wear it to protect other people from me, or from me from other people. It's the people want to do it, and it's been, it's the law. Like, it's not necessarily the law, but the government has come out and said to do it. I don't wear it for the government. I wear it so I don't get sick. I don't want to get sick. Period. I don't care about politics and all that stuff when it comes to this. I'm wearing it because I don't want to get sick. And if wearing a mask is that big of a deal to you, or that much work to you, maybe you need to kind of think about some other changes, some other things, because it's not that big a deal.
You're a pretty disciplined sort of guy, though. Do you see a lot of people out there that are just, they don't care, they're just going about life without doing it?
Everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Finally, here in Florida, they've made it mandatory in like grocery stores and stuff like that. But that's the reason I blame our government in a way, and especially our state government. That should have been mandatory 2 months ago. 2 months ago. Just look at other countries. Other countries did it by the books, and they're done. I have good friends over in Poland They were so strict that if you were caught on the road not going to the grocery store, you'd get a ticket in May and June. And guess what? They're clear.
Yeah, yeah.
My Polish friends are already traveling the world again while I'm stuck here. Thanks, government. I appreciate that.
I think we need to be careful because there's I'm down here in Australia, as you probably know, and there's a second wave happening at the moment of coronavirus, and it's worse than the first wave was. So there's been more deaths in the last 48 hours. There's been more people contracting the virus, and as you probably know, because you've got connections in this part of the world, that Australia went into a pretty strong lockdown a long time ago to try and eradicate the virus, or at least keep it under control. So I think there's still a lot of things about the virus itself that we don't know in terms of the way that it's regenerating itself. Everybody said that, or not everybody, but a lot of people said that come the summertime and the hot weather, it was just going to vanish. That hasn't been the case. It's got worse actually during the summertime. So I think that the jury's still out, isn't it, in terms of a lot of things about how the virus itself behaves, and then of course you've got the political response to it on top of that. So there's a lot of things involved. It's stopping us from traveling, though. That's a pain in the neck. So how do you cope with that? Like, that's your thing, right? You just want to get out there and get around the world again. So how are you coping with it?
Well, again, where some people see a dreaded trash can of failure, I see it as a golden opportunity. I've been working every single day for 10 to 12 hours behind the computer, making the brand stronger than ever, making the website stronger than ever, making connections, making collaboration things. I just got featured in some newspapers over and here in the U.S. I'm just working my butt off. This right here is a golden opportunity, because maybe if I had the chance to travel right now, I probably wouldn't be putting near as much effort into the brand and making it making myself to that next level.
So it's been a positive and I feel exactly the same way. Like, I'm getting more. Like, I've got to say though, in the beginning, that I haven't even been affected by COVID-19 because I'm on a sailboat. I'm away from the rest of society. I'm totally self-sustainable here. I don't rely on anybody other than my internet connection and my camera and my microphone. So in that respect, I'm fortunate, but the fortune has been created through hard work, because I've got to this stage because I've chosen to live this lifestyle, I guess. And someone said to me yesterday, "Oh, you're so lucky to be living on a sailboat and doing what you're doing." I said, no, don't call it lucky, because you didn't see what work went on behind the scenes to make this lifestyle happen, right? And I don't believe a lot in luck. I believe in manufacturing your dreams through hard work and effort. And I think I agree with you totally. I think we're in a period of life now where it's a fantastic opportunity to hit the reset button, to think about the life we had before and go, okay, I want to get rid of all the things that I didn't like about that life, because now I've got time to put into it and put some real energy in. And it's probably been a good thing for a guy like you who's used to being on the go all the time. You've actually had some time to sit down, reflect, and choose some new directions to go in. Is that fair enough to say that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you actually just said it perfectly, about, I feel like what people are realizing, especially there's been a lot of news articles over here in the U.S. recently on remote working and how everyone was so happy when it started, but now they're miserable because remote working is not easy.
Yeah.
There's just so many people that when they hear what I do for a living, they want to be like, oh, that's the dream job. You have no idea what it's like when you're sitting and, I think I was stranded down in Buenos Aires for a little bit, like in this little tiny town, about an hour, I think it was south of Buenos Aires, with no internet connection for a week. Couldn't do anything, and it was all because I had just went there to write a story, and it was just miserable for a whole week. And it's like, there are a lot of amazing things about traveling the world and writing and doing what I do. It's phenomenal, and I love every part of it. However, I've worked my butt off to get where I'm here. I work 10 and 12 hours a day right now, like we were just talking about, and I was in the U.S. Army for 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's a lot of work. Degrees and getting my master's and stuff like that, like getting all this stuff, like a lot has went into this, like you were saying. When people are like talking about like what you do for a living now, and they're like, oh, you live on a sailboat, it's all luck. No, it has nothing to do with luck. No. You work your butt off to get to this level. Yeah. And trust me, it's not always it's not always rainbows and golden chest. Sometimes it's horrible.
Yeah. people have this impression that I sit out the back of my boat every day with cocktails under palm trees, and today we've got 45 knot winds and torrential rain, and everything's flooded. It's a disaster, but it's still a fantastic life, right? Like it's still perfect.
Yeah, it's hard to complain sometimes when but it's what happens.
Hey, have you read the book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell?
I have not yet. I think you mentioned this, and I have it on my list to actually look up.
Yeah, it just reminds me of what you were just talking about in terms of the effort that you have to put in to get anywhere. And the book's fantastic because it talks about, he did a study on the people that have become so-called successful in their life choice. And I read it a long time ago, so I'm going to misquote, I'm sure, but he did a study on an ice hockey team. I think it was either the United States or the Canadian ice hockey team, and he went down to the level of when they were actually born, their star signs, and it was incredible. Like nearly 90% of the team were from the same star sign of the zodiac. They had all these similar personality traits as human beings. And then he talks about the 10,000 hours. So 10,000 hours is the amount of time, on average, that he looked at all these people. I think he did someone like Roger Federer in tennis and a lot of other high achievers. And he said 10,000 hours is the amount of work time you need to put in to master your chosen field, right? So if you started playing golf tomorrow, are you a golfer? Do you play golf?
Yeah, I play golf.
Okay.
I play golf.
So if you wanted to become a professional golf player, there's no question that you could do it, but you have to put in X amount of hours of not only training and tuition, but all the other elements that would turn you into being a professional golf player. And it's an incredible book. So I would highly recommend it to anybody out there who wants to take their life to a new level of dimension, because it talks about how these people have actually done it. And 10,000 hours is the number you should always remember if you want to master something.
Well, and it's interesting because if you say it, like you do 10 hours a day for 300 days a year, that's 3,000 hours. Then 3 years. I mean, I could be a pro golfer in 3 years. So watch out, people. Here I come.
Yeah, and there's a guy on YouTube that did it. So if you check it out, there's a guy in America too. There's a guy on YouTube who woke up one day and said, right, I don't even play golf. I've got no idea about the game, but I want to become a pro golfer and see whether it's possible. And he did actually get his tour card after, I think it was 4 years, I think he took to get it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So I've always been that way. I'm a true believer that you set your mind to something, you can definitely achieve it in life. Although my number one bucket list item at the moment is to get up into space. So I've been writing to Elon Musk and a whole lot of people to try and get me a ticket into space. And there's some interesting things happening around that, because it's not as far-fetched as you might think it is, because for me that's the ultimate travel.
Not at all.
That's the ultimate travel destination. And actually, I know I've got a friend of mine that's actually been to space. I'll throw it.
Really?
Yeah. So, and
that's definitely pretty cool.
It's an incredible journey, because she's a very intelligent woman. I'm not allowed to drop a name on the show, unfortunately, but I'll just tell you about her journey because it was really interesting. She's an American, and it was during the process where the shuttle was having some problems, and she thought, okay, I'm not going to get to space in the shuttle, so I'll go through the Ukrainian cosmonaut Kazakhstan system, and she decided to go through that way, and she ended up getting to the International Space Station to do some scientific studies. And if I recall her journey, which was quite phenomenal, about being an everyday person who had no idea about what the whole idea about getting into space was going to be like, and to actually realize that dream. And how many people have been to space? Let's first of all talk about that, right? So it's that's awesome, very, very small thing. So anything's possible in life. And I think now also during this COVID-19 process, we've seen a lot of people coming up with amazing innovations. I'm a real fan of Elon Musk. I've got to tell you that, because what this guy is doing, phenomenal, right?
Oh, absolutely,
phenomenal.
He's it's funny that you say that. Is the thing with Elon Musk is as well, and I think it's more because Joe Rogan. I watched him on Joe Rogan, but he's just, I don't know if it's a fake or not, but he just seems like such a good person. He actually cares about the rest of the world. he actually, cares about certain things. Because I don't know, did you read that he was selling like all his large material items just because people were talking crap about him, saying that like, oh, he has way too many items and he has too much of this. So he's like, all right, that's cool. Sold.
Yeah.
And sells them all. I'm like, that is awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah, he is cool. And I saw another part of him the other day as well, which I really admire. Was there was a guy who's been doing a video blog, so a vlogger who's been following the whole SpaceX thing, and he traveled across America. This guy, he's a young guy with a video camera, and he's just like, he loves space and he loves everything that Elon Musk is doing. So you can tell that Elon's a bit of a hero of his, right?
Yeah.
And he traveled across the country under his own steam, and it took him hours and hours to get there. I can't remember where he was from, and he turned up at where is it, Boca Char or wherever it is in Texas, where he's got the thing. And there was there was a test going on at night time. It was on, and the thing they were testing blew up, right? So it actually exploded. And
oh yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, okay. So he was there that day, and Elon came walking past, and the guy said to him with his video camera on, he said, "Oh, Mr. Musk, is there any chance I can do an interview?" And Elon stood there for an hour with this young kid and did an interview for his vlog, right? And
yeah, I mean, that's what he is.
And it was brilliant because, Elon had all the world's media there and he was speaking to all of them, but he put them aside and he just focused on this young kid. And of course, this young kid's space channel has now taken off and he's got, 800,000 subscribers and stuff, which is fantastic. But yeah, I admire the guy because he's also got all the naysayers out there that saying, you're not going to succeed and the electric car's never going to take off and you can't build tunnels under cities and be successful with, hyperloops and all these things. But he's proving everybody wrong and he's just showing what can be created, right? So where do you, I guess I brought that up because I wanted to know, where do you get your inspiration from? Is there somebody out there in the world that you kind of go to for inspiration?
Not really. I mean, I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan, and I read a lot about Elon, and I read every single night. I read only nonfiction. I don't read any fiction stuff, but I read every night about something. Whether or not I'm trying to learn a new a new type of software, I'm trying to learn a new way to get traffic to websites every single night, and after being in the military for 10 years, I don't want to be under anybody's thumb anymore. And the only way I know how to do that is by continuing to do what I want to make and to grow my brand and stuff like that, so I can continue to travel the world and provide the information that I can to people that like to subscribe and follow me.
That's cool, man. Have you always been an avid reader?
No, actually. Until after I got out of the military.
Oh, okay.
Once I started traveling, I became I would just you'd be in hostels and you'd always see people reading, and at first I'm like, lame, and then eventually I was like, I see why they're reading, like, because it's so cool to like go up and when I go up to talk to somebody, and I could talk about just about anything, any subject that someone wants to talk about, I know something about.
Yeah.
So I try to know a little bit about a lot rather than a lot about a little.
Just finished writing my latest book, and it was about the last 25 days of my father's life. I got to spend those days with him in hospital, and we went through a fairly amazing journey together between father and son that we never had before. And one of the things that I admired about my father so much was he was an avid reader, and he would read probably 4 or 5 books a week, and he was such a knowledgeable guy, but he didn't share it with anyone. Like, he was never after to promote his knowledge, in a capacity that, hey, I know everything about everything kind of thing. He wasn't that kind of man. But I always admired him for doing that. But now after he's gone, I admire him even more because I can see the power that knowledge brought to his life, right?
Absolutely. And it's like, and I bet you he would have been great at Trivia Crack.
Because,
I love playing Trivia Crack, and it's just like so many things you read, and then before you know it, there's a question about it, and you're like, I would have never known that. And it's just kind of one of those silly things, but it just shows that it depends why you want to read. I don't read to be smarter than people. I read because I just love being informed, and I hate not being able to be in a conversation that I should know something about. And if you don't read, you won't be in that one.
Yeah, exactly. I used to give him a hard time because he used to play outdoor bowls, lawn bowls, with his group of mates. And they used to have a trivia night every week at the bowls club. And I used to say to him, go along to the trivia night because you're going to win everything because you know everything about everything, And he would never go along because he didn't want to showcase his knowledge, So,
well, he's, we'll say he's just more humble that way.
Yeah. So, talking about reading and social media, we've talked about those two things. So do you think that people's obsession with social media takes them away from their ability to get into a good book and learn things that way? Do you think, can you see?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I mean, it's like, it's easy. Perfect example I can give you is TikTok.
Yeah.
I have never opened a single TikTok thing. I've never been on TikTok at all. Never. And it was because a friend of mine, when it first started, was like, oh, man, I was on TikTok for 10 hours yesterday. And I was like, that's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I literally answered it with the throw up emoji 28 times. It's the most disgusting thing ever. And then I just heard it from more and more people that were like, yeah, I was on TikTok for hours. That's ridiculous. You know how much stuff I can do in 10 hours?
Yeah.
I can literally write 17 books in 10 hours. It's like, come on. There's so much to do. So I have never been on that, and I never will be. And I'm never on, I don't really go on any social media unless I'm doing it for business, just because if someone has something to say to me, they'll call me. Yeah,
and that's a really good thing, because I'll add to that in saying, if someone's got something to say to you that's worth saying to you, then they'll find a way of saying it to you, right? Rather than trying to get your attention by distracting you on a social media platform, because that's all it does, right? It distracts you from.
100%.
Hey, are you a David Goggins fan?
Yeah. I've actually obviously heard about him from Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
I'm big into Goggins at the moment because I've just reignited my athletic career, and I used to be a very avid marathon runner, ultra distance runner, that kind of guy that did a lot of extreme sports, and I've started to get myself into a shape where I can consider being in a master's category runner in some level. So using Goggins as one of my inspirations in that space at the moment, because the guy's kind of unbreakable, isn't he, in terms of physical, mental, spiritual.
Oh yeah, he's a monster.
If you're listening to this, if you're listening to Joshua and I chatting today and you haven't come across some of these people we're talking about, get online, check them out. They may be your thing, they may not be your thing, because we all have our own tastes and appetite for these sorts of things as well. Hey, Joshua, I came across something interesting the other day online, of course, and has to do with history. What's your understanding of history in terms of the way that history is recorded? Are you a big fan of history? Do you believe in the history that's been written by mankind and humankind? Well,
I look at history in in my own way, I guess you would say. There's no debating the fact that history is written by winners, period. It's written by the winners. Yeah. So, and one thing I've learned throughout my lifetime is that there's always two sides to every story.
Yeah.
So, can we really know history if we don't know both sides of the story? I would tend to say absolutely not. We know whoever won, so we know that side. So, I love history. I love reading about stuff, and I love learning from, history in certain ways. But it's one of those subjects that I find it's very hard to. I won't ever argue about history. If someone has a strong opinion on it, I won't argue with them, and I won't debate that type of fact, because we'll just go in circles, because I'm obviously not going to believe what they say because they don't have both stories. They don't have both sides. Right. So it's hard to fight it.
Well, I came across something interesting recently about history, and I wanted to throw it at you today because you're a traveller. Do you study maps very much?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you study maps from past centuries?
I would say probably not.
Okay, so here's a little known fact that I pulled up the other day. So if you go to any maps of the world back in the kind of late 1600s, early 1700s,
okay,
you'll find that every single map of the world doesn't have the Great Lakes on it. And the Great Lakes only started to appear on maps after 1750 something. Yeah. So I was watching something the other night by a historian who's also a scientist, and he was saying that this is something that's basically been ignored by the global population and people that are interested in history and stuff, is that there are many features on world maps from centuries ago that are not featured on maps of today. And I found this quite interesting, so I started to do a bit of research on it. And there's a lot of countries and there's a lot of islands that existed a couple of hundred years ago that don't exist anymore. They're gone. They're not on world maps of today. So if you have a look at some of the maps from early 1700s, you'll see that there was a lot more islands off the coast of Iceland, between Iceland and Norway. There was a whole range of countries that existed there that are no longer on any of the maps of the world today and haven't been for a couple of hundred years. And the Great Lakes all of a sudden appeared on maps after 1756, I think it was, and here they were previously. If you look at maps of the United States, in particular in North America, you'll see that Chicago was landlocked and had no water, no river systems or anything anywhere near it on maps previously. So there's a little bit of a insignificant piece of information that might be quite important for you.
So you're telling me global warming is real?
Well, I'm quite fascinated to find out now how the Great Lakes actually occurred. And
it's kind of weird, but yeah, that's very weird.
There's another one that I'll share with you through that research from that particular gentleman that I read as well. Was not only read, he made a documentary about this, which is quite interesting and it's quite thought-provoking. Have you heard about the global mud flood that happened in the 15th or 16th century? Have you heard about that?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so according to this gentleman, there has now been scientific proof to show that there was a global eradication of the planet around about 1500 and something, with a great flood that happened, and the particles of mud have now been DNA tested around the world in different continents and different countries to be exactly the same mud from its origin, wherever it was, where it started. So that's normally scientifically impossible, because mud in the soil samples taken from each country is obviously different for the reasons that we have different flora and fauna and geography. But it's actually been proven that there was some kind of an event that displaced mud across the entire planet. It wiped out the majority of the world's population, and since then humanity has been rebuilding itself again.
Dang, that's interesting. I never even heard of that, actually.
Yeah, so I hadn't either. And as a person that's traveled to a lot of countries around the world, I'd never seen any sign of this or any historic relevance to it whatsoever. And then the third thing that he talks about is that he's got now proof that he shows in this documentary that there used to be a global single language that everybody spoke across the world back in the 1500s as well. And the single language was originating from Hungary, Magyar, I think it's called, the Magyar language, yeah. And there's now evidence in Canada, for instance, in caves where the language was used to write certain words and things in the caves in Canada. Down here in Australia, there's signs that the Aboriginals used this particular language as well. So yeah, there's proof that there was a single language that we used to all use back 400 odd years ago, which again is another fascinating, useless piece of information that I'm sharing with you today.
I mean, sometimes that's the type of question you get on Trivia Crack when you're playing your game.
Yeah, there you go. I might start a trivia channel. That might be an idea. Put all this stuff out there on a trivia.
I'm not gonna lie. Earlier, I was kind of looking at some podcasts when I was trying to do some, send out emails for podcasting and stuff like that. And I came across this one podcast that the only thing they do is review 1-star reviews online.
Right.
And and it was pretty funny. It was actually a really comical way. I'm just like, that was a great idea. That was such a good idea. Who doesn't want to listen to 1-star reviews? That's such a good idea. Yeah,
there's a lot of really interesting stuff that's taking off in that world. Tell us about this whole podcasting thing. What do you think of the podcast world?
I think it's a hard world, so to speak. I don't, and it's one of the things that me and Bob over at the Traveler's Blueprint podcast, what we're working on is it's virtually impossible. Social medias don't cross over. Instagram and Facebook doesn't cross over to podcasting. You can have a great podcast and then have the same thing, the same handles over on social media, and you'll get 4 likes when you have 10,000 podcast viewers.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, and it's the one thing I've been able, since I've been kind of looking over at his thing. It's kind of like, I'll see someone that's got a podcast, and I'll see him on Instagram, and they'll get like 4 likes. And then I'm like, do I really want to listen to that? And then I go over and listen to the podcast, and it's phenomenal. And I'm like, son of a gun. Like, I would have never thought that. But it's really that podcasting and social media don't cross over. It's not. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So it's you can't judge a podcast by its social media at all.
Yeah, exactly right. And I was having a very similar conversation to your mate Bob this morning about that. And he said, "Oh, what you're doing in the podcast world is good." And I said, "Hang on a minute. I don't want to be known as a podcaster. That's not what I'm setting out to do with this journey now." And I established a platform 12 years ago called Humaneity when I was living in Singapore, and that platform was on the basis of doing good things in the world to bring positive impact to people in their life, and that's what I'm doing with this journey now. So all I'm doing is making content. I'm a content creator, and that can be in the form of videos, podcasts, writing books, doing daily blogs or whatever about positive things that are going to help people change their lives. So that's very different than being a podcaster who's setting out with a journey to be like a Joe Rogan or anything else like that. Because I think you're right. I think that there is this anomaly when it comes to where people find you, first of all. I've grown my podcast shows from word of mouth. That's been the most successful way of disseminating what I'm doing, and I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of friends around the world who have told somebody about what I'm doing and blah, 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 and that's gone on to create it. But when you talk about marketing strategies and using social media as it is today to grow your brand, if you're a podcaster, then you better look at new avenues, I think, because
you guys, it's very similar to the travel blogging and stuff like that, and I think it's all going to settle out in the next few years too. I feel like 2018, 2019, 2020, everyone thought it was so easy to do, and I think this pandemic is going to put people back in check.
Yeah.
And it's very tough for me sometimes because I'll be trying to get on podcasts, and they'll be like, "Oh, we're just overrun," and I just think to myself, I'm like, how are you overrun? I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm on this level and other people are on this level, but I've been to 119 countries on 6 continents and all 50 states. There's not many people that I know. I know about a handful, but there's not many that rival me and watch. And a lot of them, they'll get back to me like 6 months later, and they're like, "Hey, we'd love you on the show now." And I'm like, dude, I'm doing something totally different now. Like,
yeah.
And it's just it's just so kind of crazy because it's like, oh my, it's funny we're talking about this too, because the Joe Rogan episode I was listening today with Bob Saget, I think it was.
Yeah.
And the guy from Full House, and Joe was explaining about inspirational quotes and how all these people on social media have.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's like, how can you give inspiration if you haven't done anything? I'm glad that you're a happy person. That's amazing. Very cool to be a happy person and enjoying life. But as a whole, it's kind of like, dude, you can't just send these quotes. What are you doing? And it's just, it's hard I think it'll be hard for people that are listening to this to kind of understand what we're saying when we're talking about getting spots on podcasting and stuff like that. But it's a real pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, I feel like I'd be a great match for a lot of these travel podcasts where I could actually explain some very valuable information, but they have, 387 people in the queue. And all 387 have been to 4 countries altogether, and that's great. You've been to. I'm all for I think everyone has a voice, and I think everyone can teach everyone something.
Yep.
But it's like, I also think that there's a level.
Yeah.
There should be a certain thing. It's like, and I think it's just because the travel blogging and digital thing, it's a saturated community right now.
Yeah.
And hopefully the pandemic is gonna brush it out. And I think the podcasting world is the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the little kid next door probably has a podcast and he's 12.
Yeah.
It's just it's very difficult these days and very easy to start.
Yeah, there is, and there's a lot of things that you've just said there that resonate with me, because I think what we're going to see got the crystal ball out. The crystal ball is telling me this, that every man and his dog thinks they can start a podcast. Yes, you can. Let's see how many of you are going after 6 months, because it's like the things that we've spoken about before. People underestimate what it takes to produce quality content. I'm talking about quality because it's only going to be quality content that will bring listeners back to listen to you time and time again. And if you want to sit in your bedroom and make a podcast that no one listens to, that's your right to do that. And I don't judge anybody at that level. But I think in 6 months' time, where, the world starts to resemble some kind of, getting back to whatever we want to do, or the new world order takes over, I think we'll find a lot of those drop out. I also have an interesting take on the other thing that's been a proliferal of business coaches have popped up, people that are experts in their fields. And I had someone contact me on LinkedIn the other day, and this is a bit of a shout out to everybody on LinkedIn. Please don't contact me and waste my time if you have no real substance behind your connection opportunity. And here's the thing, Joshua, that I had, right? So first of all, the person that reached out to me, this particular person, they didn't even get my name right. They called me somebody else in their introductory note, right? That was the first thing. The second thing says, their first line was, I am an expert at X, X, and X, right? And I can help you with this, this, and this. And I thought, okay, I've had so many of these lately, I'm going to have a little bit of a game with this person. So I wrote back and I said, okay, Mr. Expert, I said, here's where I want to be in 2 years from now, right? So I would like you to put together a pitch on how you're going to take my brand to that goal that I have to get there in 2 years, right? And I want you to give me a detailed analysis of who you've done it with before, so you can prove your credibility to me that you're an expert and you've actually helped somebody else achieve this goal. And I want a step-by-step process on how you're going to take me there. Anyway, I got an email back a couple of days later. It took them to respond. And they said to me, oh, thank you for your inquiry. Good luck with your vision.
Mm-hmm.
So they ran for the hills, right? Because they've got no credibility in terms of, we've got to realize, and the point I'm saying this is because we've all got to walk before we can run. Okay, there's no shortcuts to stardom in terms of becoming an expert in any area, and we've talked about it today with the people we've mentioned, Elon Musk and David Goggins and Joe Rogan and all these people. Joe's been podcasting for 9 or 10 years, and it's been a journey to get to where he is today.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And I just, and you see it in the travel world as well, right? There's all these travel coaches, business coaches in the travel world that I'll help you become a superstar, and they've done nothing themselves in their life,
Yep.
Nothing.
I get one a day on Instagram that is like, hey, I can take you to this next level. And I'm just sitting there going like, have you been following me? I'm doing pretty good. I think I'm good. I don't think I really need your help. And a lot of times I'll click on their Instagram and then I'll go look, and they have 322 followers. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're going to take me to the next level. I actually believe you. Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah. Please take my $4,000.
Yeah.
Please. I need you.
Look, don't get me wrong. I'm a huge fan of mentoring, and having the right people to mentor you is a fantastic thing. And as you did when you were in the army and in the war and all the rest of it, you had 5 guys that their lives depended on you mentoring them in the right way to keep them alive and all the rest of it. And I think it's a really important part of it. And you talked about your father and the role that he's played in your life as well. And I'm sure that he's mentored you in lots of different areas. So I'm really big on the mentoring, but you've got to find the right fit. You've got to find the person or the people that are at the level, first of all, that you need to take you to the next level. And, there's a lot of consciousness around that and making sure that the fit's right. Because let's face it, we won't sit down and listen to somebody give us advice if we don't feel as though that advice is creditable. And I guess that's what we're saying in this part of the conversation, right?
Yeah, I mean, and if I was going to give like one slogan, I would just say, don't try to be a life coach till you've gotten control of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't try to do that until, you're doing that. And I think that's kind of the issue a lot of times is, you get these people that just want to be life coaches and just want to do this and that. And it's like, you haven't figured your stuff out. So don't be reaching out to me yet. when I've been to a few Tony Robbins things and stuff like that, and that's totally different. He has more credit than credit can even exist, probably.
Yeah.
Like the man has been doing, he's a superstar.
Yeah.
And it's even hard for some people, I think, to learn from him these days because he's so powerful.
Yeah.
Like he's been around for so long, kind of like a podcaster. You know, you've learned things from Joe Rogan, but Joe Rogan probably wasn't your direct person because he's so big now.
Yeah.
It's hard to learn from a guy like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for sure.
Exactly right. And I think that in terms of someone like Tony Robbins, and I think that's a really interesting name to throw out there, because if you look at Tony's own personal evolution over the years, if you go back to what Tony Robbins was 10 years ago as a human being, and you see now how much more spirituality has come into his life and how he's evolved as a conscious being, that now is, I think, is probably his strongest strength. And one of his superpowers now is because he's become much more of a conscious, aware human being than he was 10 years ago as a pitching master, a sales global speaker, keynote speaker, all that sort of thing. He's actually got his own life shit together, and now he's able to come from a place of authenticity, and I'm really big on that, because I won't listen to anybody for 1 minute that doesn't come across and who isn't authentic in their particular space.
No, 100%, and I think that goes directly back to what we were just talking about. Is that it's a true shame that so many of these areas are saturated right now, because people that are authentic and have real information to get out to people can't even get it out right now because there's so many other people holding up that space that haven't. And I'm very big on earning, and I feel like. And sometimes I think people can kind of take this the wrong way when I say it to them. Is like, because I'm not trying to be a jerk when I say it, but you have to earn your right to be and to have opinions on certain things. And I get in trouble for that all the time over here in the USA because the Constitution apparently allows everyone to have opinions. I don't know, but you know, it's like I'm a big person on like, you have to earn the right to have that opinion about something. Who are you to have an opinion on, you know, traveling the world if you've never traveled the world? What are you doing?
Exactly right. And I think what happens there is there's two powers of energy at play here. There's the law of the jungle, which will eradicate those ones that you're talking about over a period of time. They won't be there any longer, and we see that happening all the time. And the other thing is around authenticity. What typically happens is the ones that are truly authentic, the cream rises to the top, right? So you see that people, and you probably experience it every day. Those that connect with you, they see that you're a straightforward guy, no bullshit. You're going to get what you see, and people will connect with that. And then some other people will actually fear that, because they'll fear the rawness that you bring in terms of your authenticity. And it goes back to what you and I spoke to just a moment ago about you're not in that place in your life journey yet where you can actually deal with that level of rawness and authenticity, and it actually creates fear inside of you, so you run away from it. And running away from it is actually probably a shame, because that's where your greatest growth can come from, is being in that place of, it's like traveling, right? You've been to countries, I've been to countries where you're out of your comfort zone. You feel as though, shit, what's going on here? This is unbelievable, right? I didn't expect to see this here, but you adapt and you fit in, and then you start growing as a result of being in that particular place. I'm sure that's happened to you time and time again, right?
It happens every single time. Not every single time. It doesn't matter if I'm going to a country that I speak good Spanish or I speak good English, and that means nothing. I could go to London and go into a brand new place that like everyone speaks English, but I'm still out of my comfort zone. And it's just, and that's when you learn to, that's kind of where the humbling comes into. It's just like you go in with a smile on your face. People want to be nice. People, I honestly believe that human beings want to be good. Human beings want to be nice.
Totally agree.
It's just a lot of stuff happens and people aren't. But I believe majority of people are good people, and that's what I try to always keep in my head, regardless of what experience that I have in a place. Hence the reason I don't snap judgment. That judgment happened in France. I think we spoke about it last time, where the first time I went to France, I couldn't stand it. The second time I went in with an open mind, and it was one of my top places in Europe. It was amazing. So you got to get stereotypes. You got to get all that out of your head when you're traveling, and you just keep a smile on your face and you'll have a good time eventually.
Well, as you talked about it, it was all in your mind, right? It was the attitude that you had when you went in there, and it blew up in your face. Excuse the pun, but it blew up in your face because of the attitude you had. You went back with a different attitude, and wow, look at it. You saw the real France for what it is, and you enjoyed it, and you want to go back there time again. Have you been to Sierra Leone?
No, I've not been to Sierra Leone, actually.
Okay, well, put that on your bucket list, because anybody that's told me that they've travelled a lot in the world, admire that. But until you've been to Sierra Leone, then we talk after that, right? So,
for sure.
I had an experience there where I went into and I quote, 5-star hotel, and I walked into my bedroom in this 5-star hotel, and there was bullet holes in the wall. There was blood above the bed, on the wall where someone had obviously been shot pretty seriously. And
Instagram time.
Yeah, it was. Well, unfortunately, this was pre-Instagram days, but it was a fairly rugged introduction to life in that particular country. And I just raised that because I was talking about things outside your comfort zone. I was thinking about how I reacted to that in my time and back in those days compared to how I probably would react to that situation today would be quite different. But
oh, absolutely,
scared the shit out of me, basically.
But it also gives you a crazy cool story. I mean, there's not many people you're going to come across that you're like, never have you ever been in a bullet-holed hotel room. Like, I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to say that.
Well, when someone tells you 5-star hotel, what's the impression that comes to mind of that hotel and the decor and the ambience and everything else, right? It's nothing to do with bullet holes and blood, right?
Not at all. I mean, but yeah, man.
I won't mention the brand. I won't mention the brand name of the hotel because it's a very well-known one, and it's the last thing you'd expect to see from them. But hey,
it's just so weird.
When you're in the soup, you got to swim well, yeah.
I mean, and the bad thing is, I bet you that in that state of mind, you probably didn't. You probably didn't take advantage of it the way you could have if you had social media. Because nowadays, if you would have taken pictures and stuff, and all, you would have had free life stays for life. That would have been awesome. I mean, that would have been amazing. I mean, the bad thing is the first thing I was thinking when you were telling the story was, man, if that happened to me, I'm getting free life stays forever.
Yeah.
Like, forever.
Yeah. So that's something that's interesting as well, is that, a lot of these life coaches and business coaches and these people that want to just help you get to stardom, they don't understand a lot about people's psychology as well, because not everybody in this world actually wants to become a zillionaire. That's not the goal of everybody, is to have all the money in the world, right? There's, money's a good thing and it keeps us alive and it gives us all the basics that we need. But whenever anybody reaches out to me and says, I can earn you this and blah, 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 I just turn off straight away because I want to know what other things they can bring to the party than just money. How do you feel about that stuff?
100%. I mean, I don't like the word personally. I don't like the word life coach. I think it's ridiculous. You can't be a life coach because everybody's life is different.
Yeah.
So you're telling me, why don't you just call yourself universe coach?
Yeah.
Because every single life is different. Every single person wants something different out of life. How can you be an all-seeing life coach if 7 billion people want different things in life? You can't be a coach of 7 billion ways. It's impossible. So it's just like being a mentor. If I was gonna label myself, I would say I could label myself as a travel mentor or maybe a entrepreneur mentor or something like that. But never a life coach. I mean, actually, I just thought about entrepreneur mentor. I like that sound.
You like it?
It's like
it's good. Tag it.
It's kind of like you can't. A life coach is such a ridiculous name. Like, I mean, it's something that you saw out of a movie.
Yeah.
And then they just made it big.
Yeah.
Not to mention, a life coach, if you're really a life coach, then you're a multimillionaire, I would assume, because you figured out life. I mean, and it's not about money, but it's about financial independence.
Yeah.
And so if you are a life coach, I would assume that you're at least worth 1.1 mil or something like that or more. You have to be, because I mean, if you're so successful in life, you can't tell me you're just going to give away money or give up on money.
Yeah.
That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, that's really good.
So,
I was driving from San Francisco City down to Silicon Valley one day, and I was on 101 South heading down to Silicon Valley, and I remember looking up at a billboard just past the airport, and it cracked me up, and it stayed with me ever to this very day, and it said, if your stockbroker is so goddamn good, why is he still working?
That's a perfectly good question. So
right?
True.
Why is he still working? Like, he's there to make you money, but why is he still working? Because he hasn't made enough for himself, or is he that greedy that he wants a lot more, right?
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more with it. It's, the problem is, I feel like it's like you said, it's a perfect way to slowly put this going to the end of this conversation is what we started in the beginning with this conversation. Everybody is looking for the easy fix, and there isn't one.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, so you're going to change my life? All right, I'll hire you, and you're going to make my brand great. It doesn't work like that, and I'll tell you, from anybody listening that's thinking about getting into the digital entrepreneur world and stuff like that, I'll tell you right now, it's going to kick you right between the legs or right in the butt tons of time. One of the things that I've learned the most was once I started building my website and learning SEO.
Yeah.
SEO is the most pain in the butt thing I've ever dealt with in my entire life. And I'm finishing my doctorate this year. I'm writing my dissertation. So I've been in school for basically longer than Van Wilder. And still, SEO is the hardest thing I've ever dealt with. It is so difficult. Trying to get on page 1 of Google without being on a television show is, I don't know, next to impossible. And the one thing I like about SEO, though, is how there is no easy way to do SEO. Yeah. Google doesn't allow it. Yeah. You have to put in the work and then wait the time to get your SEO up, or you won't move. There's no way you can go from a domain authority of 2 to a domain authority of 80 overnight.
Absolutely.
It's not improbable. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Still a lot of people out there that you'd even say. They'd say to you, what's SEO? A lot of people still don't even know what SEO is. Yeah, right?
That's true. But I mean, if you don't know what, the funny thing is you say that, and Bob just texted me right before the show, and he was like, hey, bro, do you know someone that can help me with SEO? And then I replied to him, do you mean backlinks, white hat, black hat, keywords, maybe anchor text? And he writes me back, he goes, okay, I think I'm just going to stick with what we already talked about. And I'm like, yeah, because, SEO, there's so many things to go into it. I'm not kidding when I say I spend 10 hours a day in June. Every day in June was my SEO month is what I called it. Yeah. And I kicked butt, and I went from 0.5 domain authority to 11 domain authority in 2 months. Right. That is, that's amazing.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is very cool. Yeah.
I registered like 98 keywords after having 0.
Yep.
Very difficult. Yep. And it's because I spent 10 hours a day every day going through things. And it's just very, very difficult to do. But, it can be done.
Plenty of people are scared of hard work, though, mate. Plenty of people are scared of hard work. People, most people want shortcuts to life and not prepared to put in the miles, right?
And if that's what you want, then I think you should just keep listening to the podcast.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep.
Just be a fan. Just be a fan and don't go for it. And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Correct.
If you want to work 9 to 5, you're awesome. Keep it up. Crush it.
Yeah.
I don't judge anybody for any type of job.
Yeah.
At all. You do what you got to do to support you, your family, and do what you can do. Crush it.
Yeah.
But if you want to do the digital entrepreneur life, it's hard work. And Bob is a perfect person to bring that up.
Yeah.
Bob has a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
And he wants to be on the same level as me when we're doing work.
Right.
But he admits he can't.
Yeah.
Because it's impossible for him to put in the time. I've made this my life where it's my 9 to 5 job. If you can't invest that type of time, that's fine. Yep. But just know that it's going to take you longer. Yep. You're going to have to be patient longer.
Yep.
And it's going to take time.
And also learn to be happy with what you got. I had the same chat with Bob this morning as well. We better bring Bob on the show next time and have him here to be able to respond for himself. Yeah, but,
I like it.
But I said to Bob, mate, you've got a beautiful family. You've got lots of dreams with your family and stuff. Enjoy that as well, because that's important, right? That's the important stuff. And
absolutely.
He loves
his family.
You go to the grave with a great business, mate. You still go to the grave.
Couldn't agree more. And he loves his family. He loves his daughter, and he loves crushing it, all that. but he's still, I think, where Bob is Bob wants to be financially independent. So that's the reason he's seeking. With me, I'm seeking. I love being a digital entrepreneur because I love freedom.
Yeah.
I love being able to do what I want when I want. I'm not after it for money.
Yep.
Hey, if I make a crush money, awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But I'm not after that. I'm after freedom. I'm after, you know what? I want to go kayaking today, and I don't want to work. Okay? I can. That's what makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Bob wants, he's got responsibilities.
Cool.
He has a kid and a wife.
Yep.
So he is going after financial freedom.
Yep.
So I would say that's the first thing anybody should take from this conversation me and you've had. We've been talking for over an hour now.
Yeah.
And the one great point of advice I'd give you is figure out why you want to do this. If you figure out the reason why and it's strong, then you'll do it, period. You'll do it.
Absolutely.
That's all it is.
And all these people we've spoken about today, all these names that we've dropped and the people that have achieved these amazing things, they've gone into areas of their life as far as work commitment and dedication and that you'd only dream about. They've really put everything on the hammer to make this happen. Hey, before I let you go today, I want to put you on the spot. I wanted you to put something on record that I can hold for you to show you in a couple of years from now. So where's your life going to be at in 3 years from now? Tell me, put it on the record today. What do you want to achieve in the next 3 years?
3 years. I got this. All right. I want a best, whether it's Amazon, I don't care. I want to have written a best-selling book, a bestseller.
Okay.
And I'm getting there. I'm getting there slowly.
Yep.
And I've written some books, and they're getting traction.
Yep.
But I want a bestseller. I want to be able to say, and this is going to come back to not someone who writes it on their profile that they're a bestseller and they're not a bestseller. I want to be a bestseller, I want to be, I don't know if it's New York Times bestseller or something like that, but that's always the funniest thing for me is when I read things and people are like, oh, I'm a 3-time best-selling. Are you though? Really? Are you?
Yeah.
That's what I want to say. But it's I would love, if we talked in 3 years, to be an actual best-selling author and to have visited 150 plus countries.
Okay.
I want to be at 150. I'd like to be at 197, but the problem that I think we're all learning with the pandemic and stuff, man, anything can happen these days. Anything.
July 2023, I'm going to have you back as a guest on the show, and
I like it.
We're going to see where you're at, mate, and hopefully I've got sitting in front of me your best-selling book that I can actually show you on camera and say, there you go, you nailed it.
I mean, I hope so. I hope we're having the same conversation in 3 years, and I'm on a sailboat with just people all around me, and I'm like, yeah, I told you I get it. Hopefully that happens.
Well, I tell you what, here's the invitation, okay? Because I'm pretty sure I'm still going to be on a boat in 3 years' time. You come and sit next to me for the next interview in 3 years' time, and we'll do it on board my sailboat, and we'll kick back and we'll show people what the real easy life is, right?
100%. I would love it. And if you work your butt off for 3 years, you can do that. It's a very big possibility.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I'm going to wrap it up, and thank you very much for having a chat with me today. It's been really good, Joshua. I'm pleased that I connected with you, and we've had a chat about travel in my previous show. Now we've had a chat about a lot of inspiring things that I'm sure are going to help a lot of people get off the couch and get out there and live their life. And let me put a link to all your books and all your contacts in the show notes today so people can find you and connect with you and collaborate with you, because I know that's what you're hungry for, and it's been a good time, man. So thanks.
Hey, it's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to be on it again. And I hope you keep crushing the podcast world and your brand world. Like you said, you want to be building and giving information to everybody, and I think you're doing a great job at it. Yeah,
and one final thing before we head off. You're the first interview that I've done in the video world today, so thank you for being not only a guinea pig, but also a fantastic talent at the other end of the camera, the visuals being good, and I've really enjoyed it. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming forward.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.